Hello again everybody and welcome to the Kettleson Cooking Show. How are you? Tonight we're going to make some Kung Pao Chicken. I know a lot of us are at home, a lot of us have been dreaming about going back to restaurants, but this is a very simple, easy dish that you can do at home and it will remind you of some of your best Kung Pao that you ever ate. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is get some rice started. So I'm going to start the rice by putting about 2 cups of water into a small pot here. Remember, when we cook rice, we always want to go 2 to 1. So 2 waters to 1 rice. So I have 2 cups of water in here. I'm going to put 1 cup of rice in here. And then I'm going to start the heat. We do not want to start the heat before we put the rice in there. So you don't want that really to be boiling. You want to start the water lukewarm with the rice lukewarm. And then we're going to bring that to a boil. After about 5 minutes it'll be at a boil. We'll turn it down to low, we'll cover it, it'll be ready in about 25 minutes. 25 minutes to a half hour. Once we have our rice started and going, now we have to start thinking about our protein. So we're going to do Kung Pao Chicken. Now you can easily substitute Kung Pao tofu. You can use tofu. It's a very exact same process. You're just going to switch out the protein. But I'm going to do chicken tonight. I've got this chicken right here. All you're going to do is cut the chicken lengthwise and then cut it a couple times widthwise. Now we don't want massive pieces, right? Because we're not going to, Chinese food we don't use a fork. But we want good bite-sized chunks. So I usually just go about 3 across. And then I go, 4 or 5, 6 down so I get a nice sized chunk. We're doing what they call passing the chicken. And to pass the chicken, we're just going to do it right in the wok. Now, I love this wok. I don't know how to say the name. I'm going to say Taylor and Ngui, NG. But it is a wonderful wok. I purchased it a couple of months ago, but I love it. It comes with a couple of pieces. First and foremost, you have your ring to go over your fire. This kind of lets the wok sit correctly on it. And then it also comes with a lid that you can do steaming and other things with. I'm going to leave the lid down here for now. So when we pass our chicken, what we want to do is we want to start with a nice hot wok, and then we want to add some oil to it. But we're going to do that in just a second, because the key to Chinese food is actually making sure that you have everything ready beforehand. Because remember, we're going to keep this nice and hot. It's going to be really hot. We want to go real quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these green beans ready. Pretty simple to get green beans ready. All we want to do is we want to chop the tops and the bottoms off and then cut them in half. So we don't want the tops or the bottoms, and we want to then cut them in half. So I usually line them up like this, and then I turn them around like this. And just get a nice cut there, and now I'm going to cut them in half. We are going to what they call blanch. What does that mean? That's just a fancy term for we're going to stick them in hot water, just so that you cook them enough that they don't taste raw in the final product. And that's really the key to these green beans. It's been a lot of fun. I'm sure some of you have noticed from other videos that I did lose quite a bit of weight since our last video. I had a bit of a cardiac event as well, which was interesting to have to go to the doctor with a indigestion and end up staying there overnight and having them insert a stint because they said that I had a blockage in there. So that was interesting, scared the heck out of my girls. Some good news with them: my daughter Genevieve graduated from college. She has her first job, so that's good. My daughter Josephine is in high school, and she is adjusting to kind of the COVID life of a high school student. And then finally, my little daughter Elizabeth is doing fantastic in middle school. Now the second ingredient you're going to want to cut up is ginger. Ginger is a wonderful product for anybody that suffers with any kind of dietary issue, from indigestion to anything related to the stomach. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to just help food, and then adds a ton of flavor. So how you cut up ginger is pretty simple. It comes in this weird shape, right? The key is to get it back to square. So I usually cut one side so I can put it down, and then I cut a side off, another side off, another side off, so I have this square shape. Once I have this square shape, I want to cut both ends off. Now I'm down to kind of my final product here. So what I want to do with my final product that I can easily manage is cut down a couple of lengthwise, flip it on its side, cut down a couple lengthwise. So I end up with these tiny little sticks here. And these sticks are just about perfect. They stay together, they're going to add a little bite. You can even go a little thinner than this. I left these a little bit big. But for the first time, that's not bad. If you want to, leave them a little thicker, because get used to cutting ginger, because you can put ginger, of course it goes in most Asian dishes, but you can put it in anything. And it is wonderful. I mean, from eating, just having it with tea, I know. Anytime I have stomach issues, which I have a lot, which kind of saved my life, it'll allow us to do it. Now the second thing we're going to put in here is some garlic. Garlic, very easy. Remember, we just take it, we press it with our knives. We're going to take our skin off, because we don't want that skin. And then we are going to just chop it. And remember, with Asian food, you don't have to be so precise, because it's going to go in hot oil, and it's gonna basically be cooked down in that hot oil. I mean, that wok gets pretty hot, but it's also a lot of fun, especially when you got kids and you help them create and see the wok. So I'm just going to take the garlic, and I'm going to just cut nice slices. Throw out this lid. So I'm going to just chop it up. And throw out the tops. Last one here. Okay, now I got my ginger, I got my garlic, I got my green beans ready to go. So I want to get to passing the chicken. I'm going to pass the chicken today in peanut oil. Now that the rice was boiling, I've turned the rice down to low, and I'm just going to let that sit for about 20 minutes, and that's how that rice is going to be cooked. I want to pass the chicken, so I'm going to, once again, I'm going to use peanut oil here. You can use canola oil, you can use anything. We want to make sure though that this wok is nice and hot. Now I have my ring set up over the fire so my wok can go back and forth. And then I'm going to put the oil down in the pan. It should sparkle. I know that there's some that say, only add oil to a dry non-heated pan. Frankly, they say that so you don't get a splashback. If there's any kind of moisture, that oil can splash back. But if you adjust your wok and you take your time, you can put the oil right in there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the chicken to the wok. I'm going to add the chicken to the wok. You should get a nice spark of sound there. That's perfectly normal. Then what we want to do is mix it around, because we want to make sure that we're going to cook the chicken. So while that chicken is cooking, we're going to take and we're going to get our green beans going. Now remember, we don't want to fully cook these green beans, but we do want to blanch them. So we got a nice pot full of boiling water. As you can see, I have about 4 cups of boiling water here. You really don't need to be so specific with how much water is in there. Just enough to make sure that these green beans go in there nice. So the green beans on the floor will be taken care of by my dog Butkus. He loves green beans. I'm going to do an episode where I make dog food, because I've been playing around with his dog food and making it myself, and it's been going great. I've really had a lot of fun. Now the other ingredients that we're going to have in this is our Kung Pao sauce. If you want to try to make your own Kung Pao sauce, God bless you. But it's hard. I know that Bruce Cost has a book called Asian Ingredients. He's Big Bowl. If you got Big Bowl by your house, They do a really nice job, and he does a nice job explaining on how to make it. You can make it from yourself, but it is a little bit hard. The other thing I'm going to need for this is arbolo chilies. I use arbolo because they're easy to get a hold of. I only use one of them. Now, if you don't have arbolo chilies, don't freak out. You can use jalapenos just fine, just use them the same way. But I will use arbolo chilies. And then, of course, I use peanuts because I love the peanuts at the end. If you're allergic to peanuts, of course, don't use peanut oil or peanuts. But the peanuts actually add that nice little crunch that I really love with Kung Pao. Now, the rice is going. I'm passing this chicken. What I want to do is I want to get this chicken up to about 165 degrees. Now, how do you know it's 165 degrees? Well, nowadays, with these pop thermometers, it's so easy. I recommend that no matter what you're doing, if you like grilling, if you like anything, any kind of cooking whatsoever, or you're just casual cook, cook once a week, grab one of these pop thermometers. They're fantastic because it tells you right away, and you don't have to worry about the chicken being undercooked. But this is as simple as it gets, really. I mean, we just got our chicken going. We have our green beans going, and they're going nice. The green beans are only going to take a couple of minutes. So you don't want to overcook those green beans because remember, we're blanching them. So we just want to cook that raw taste out, but we still want them to have a little bit of crunch to them. Yeah, so it's been going great. Transition to working from home. I know a lot of us have been. I feel so bad for all the people that have been affected by Corona. Not only affected by the sickness itself, and God, the people that my heart goes out to, the folks that have lost their lives to Corona, but I also feel bad for all the stress that it's caused in the world, whether you've lost your job or you've had to change your income sources, or you've had to do things that you haven't. I mean, it's just been a struggle for everyone, to say the least. I really hope that we can get it under control and start to get back to a semblance of normalcy. Although with the kids back in school, it really seems like we're getting to some kind of normalcy. I just wish we had some kind of vaccine or treatment, of course. But this dish right here is very, very easy to make if you're really craving just a good old-fashioned Kung Pao chicken. Every time I think of Kung Pao, I think of George on Seinfeld, of course, with his Kung Pao chicken. With this Kung Pao chicken, though, we don't want to kill it. So I always use just one chili, and I'm going to show you how to cook the chili in just a second. But just realize that if you want it spicier, you can use more chilies. 3 to 5 is what, the Bruce, I think, in his book has 3 chilies per plate of Kung Pao. That's a lot. And if you really want it spicy, I mean really, really spicy, then cut these chilies up as we make this and make sure that the seeds are in there, because then it will become extremely spicy. And that is, like I say, for the faint of heart. So now what I want to do is I want to take out a nice size chunks, one of the bigger chunks. I want to put it down on this plate, and I just want to take my pop thermometer out. My pop thermometer, instant read, it'll come there. I'm just going to stick it in there. Right now it's at 164, 165. So that's ready. Remember, we want to get this to about 165. If you take it out and it's just a little bit underdone, that means it's at about 155, 165, 160. Remember, just by it sitting here and cooking in the sauce, it'll get up those extra couple of degrees. But if you want to be precise, you should wait till that is at exactly 165 to make sure that all the bacteria is cooked out of the chicken. And our green beans are about done. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put this lid on, and we're just going to drain them off. Remember, we just wanted to blanch them, right? We didn't want to cook them all the way. We just wanted to blanch them. So now, after I drain this off, what I always do is just leave them in the pan. I'm just going to leave them right in there. I'm not going to transfer them to another dish or another container. Let's get them a little bit more. Okay, these are ready. So I'm going to take this and turn that on. Now, I got my wok going, okay? So the first thing I want to do with my wok, I can clean it out a little bit. It's pretty easy to clean out. Just take your sponge and kind of clean it out. I like to just do a once over. Now I'm going to take my sesame oil. You want to use, if you can, you want to use sesame oil or peanut oil here because they have a higher smoke point. Now you can get away with using just regular oil, but you kind of want to get it so it's nice and hot. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my Diablo chili. And my Diablo chili is going to actually turn black. I know it's ready to go. The oil has fully got that sauce in there when that chili turns black. Do you notice that little popping? That's because my spoon has a little bit of water on it. And that's what's causing that popping. And you know, when you get your wok and get used to it, you want to make sure you're kind of tilting it away so that if you do get a splash, it's going to go out that way. Oh, that chili looks good. And it's okay. See, this is why if you use a lower sauce, you might want to turn down your heat here. But that looks good. We're getting to a point where that's getting chilly. Now, I got a couple of seeds in there, which might make this hotter than I thought I want it to be, but we will ride with it. All right, the second thing I'm going to do in there is I'm going to put the sauce in there. Now, once again, you can make your own Kung Pao sauce. But the heat from Kung Pao really comes from that chili that you put in. Whether it be a Diablo or whether it be a jalapenos or whatever chilies that you have. And I just want you to see, I don't know if you can see it, but this is nice and black. Once we get it nice and black, you know it's ready to go. So now I really have to worry about that sauce. So I'm going to pour it away from me. And I'm going to pour it. This bottle is supposed to make four plates. So I don't know. I just kind of eye it out and kind of say, okay, if there was 4 of them, what would I need there? And I'm just going to mix it around. Now you can also, if you want to thin this out, use a chicken stock and maybe put a little bit of a cornstarch in there. You know, mix up some what they call a slurry. So put the chicken stock in and then mix up your cornstarch and your water in lukewarm water and then pour it in and it'll thicken up. So you can thin even this sauce out, but I frankly don't really like that so much. So now I got that going. Looks good. It's starting to bubble. It's got the heat from there. Now I want to take my chicken. I want to put my chicken right back in there. You know what I forgot? I forgot my ginger and garlic. So what I'm going to do is add those in right now. Well, you know what? I'll make it without ginger and garlic. When you get to the oil part, you want to make sure you put that ginger and that garlic in there. I'm actually going to do something here. I'm going to take this out. And, wow, that's got some nice kick to it. You know, that's doing without the ginger and the garlic. It seems it's got some nice punch right now. Then the second thing we're going to throw in there are those green beans. Get those green beans in there. And I'm just going to mix this up. Now, if you're making this for your family, you can easily do it, especially with this big of wok. If you have a smaller wok or you're just using a frying pan, you might not be able to get it all in there. But for this size, you'd be fine. I'm mad at myself that I forgot that ginger and that garlic. So just to be clear, I threw that sauce in there, right? Before I put that sauce in there, normally I'd throw the ginger and the garlic in there. The ginger and the garlic would then get to really infuse into that oil after that chili has been in there. And then I would give it about a minute or so, because remember, this is nice and hot. And then I would add that. Then I would add the sauce, and then the chicken, and then the green beans. Now the final thing I'm going to put in here. The final thing I'm going to put in here is peanuts. My peanuts is going to give me that crunch that I'm looking for. Now, how many do you put in? Well, I don't know. I just take my hand like this, and I just make my hand into kind of like a cup, or I don't know if it's a half a cup or a cup, but I'd say it's about a half a cup for each plate. So you want a nice amount of peanuts because you do want that crunch, but of course you don't want to put too many in there. I think a handful or 2 handfuls is about right. So right now I have a nice dish. I'm just going to let this cook for about a minute or so. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean off my spoon because I'm getting ready to plate the dish. Now yesterday I made rice for Elizabeth and I didn't cook it long enough, so I'm kind of afraid. I'm going to let that cook for just another minute or so. I hope to God that this makes you guys happy and this brings back a little fun to your life. If you don't have a wok, I would suggest getting one. You know, this wok was around $50 to $60. It's so much fun to cook with a wok once a week. If you're thinking about health, I of course had to think about health as I moved away from red meat and more towards tofu and chicken. Stir fries are a wonderful way to do it. Here we're making a spicy stir fry, but there's a lot of ways to make simple sweet stir fries. That tastes delicious, and then you can do, you know, other than substitutes for red meat. You know, this rice is going to be about right here. Let me just, I don't know if I can kind of feel it. Now it needs about a couple more minutes. So we'll let that cook for another minute or so, and then we'll be okay. Let's see. Now, caring for a wok is a little bit interesting too. So first, when you get it, please follow the instructions on how to first set it up, because you do have to add a little oil to it and make sure that it's good. And it's going to actually darken over time. The second thing is when you're cleaning your wok, what you want to do is you want to take a little bit of water and just put it right back on the fire so it heats it up. Because you want to get that stuff that's off there, completely off there. And sometimes it's a little bit hard because of the heat. Now I see Buckus is looking for a peanut, but this is ready to go. So we are going to plate this right now. So how do I plate this? Well, the first thing I do is I put down my rice. So I get my rice out here, and I'm going to put a nice scoop of rice just right in the middle. I like to take a scoop and a half here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little foot to move it over so you can see. I'm going to give myself a little foot. I like to have that rounded edge there. And once again, I mean, you don't have to get crazy with this, especially if you're with your family. But it's nice for it to look good. And then what I want to do is I want to put the first scoop right on that little platform that I created. And then I want to build it up around it. And, you know, if I was making this for my girls, I would have the plates out right here, add the rice to them, and then I would just simply come through here and I would put all the... Now, I mean, this right here is nothing but wonderful. It's especially wonderful if you also add the ginger and the garlic. Those flavors do actually add a lot of punch, and plus that ginger is so wonderful for your stomach. So what I do is I wash my wok out 1 time, 2 times, and then I take it like this and I put it right back on the fire. And I'm just going to let that go for a little bit just to try to loosen everything up on that wok, and I might turn it down just a bit. Alright. So with that, we have Kung Pao Chicken. Nice and easy. Remember to add your ginger and garlic, not like me. And make sure that you enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your Kung Pao Chicken.